The Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. Thanks for joining us right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. So thankful to have my good friend Captain Matt Graves with us today from Limitless Fishing Charters here on the East Coast in Ponce Inlet, Florida. So it's right around Daytona Beach area. But before we get started, guys, you already know what I'm going to say. I want to invite you to follow along on all of the social medias at the Captain's Log TV. We've got a brand new season out, season 7 of the TV show, and we're wrapping up our season finale this weekend. So if you haven't seen any of the shows this season, head on over to my YouTube channel at the Captain's Log TV. You can watch everything there. You can also watch on the Discovery Channel nationwide, Discovery Plus, Discovery Go, on Waypoint TV, and that free app. Waypoint has a channel and an app which is completely free for you to download. And starting in October, we just got picked up by the Pursuit channel. So if you are a big fan of watching the Captain's Log or you're a big fan of watching the Pursuit channel, you can watch season 7 of the Captain's Log TV there on Pursuit. So anywhere you are literally watching, you can watch the show, as well as this show is going to be streamed after the live show here on the Outdoor Radio Network on Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and coming soon, we're going to be on the Waypoint Podcast Collective there as well. But this is home, the Outdoor Radio Network, so thank you for being here. We've got some big news, exciting stuff coming out here with the radio network. We have gone international, so now no matter where you are in the world, if you're in England and you rent a car and you're from America and you're visiting and you're going to go get some tea and crumpets, you can listen to the Captain's Log Radio there. Or if you live there, you can just put it on your dial, listen to the Captain's Log Radio there, all through the Outdoor Radio Network. So cool stuff going on all over the world with the show. Matt, I got an email the other day saying there's people in parts of the world who have access now to the Captain's Log Radio, and they don't even speak English. But you know what they speak, brother? They speak fishing. They get
There we go.
They know
That's
the
all that
tug
matters.
is the drug. Captain Matt Graves, welcome, my friend. How are you, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It has been a minute since we've been together and been fishing. We need to do that. We talk about it all the time. You're one fishy dude, regardless if you're inshore or offshore. We have spent some good days together out in the Mosquito Lagoon. We have filmed together offshore out of Ponce. We've been friends for a long time. We've got young families and young boys who are nearly feral and wild and crazy. So we are living a similar life, my friend.
Yes, it is very busy, very hectic, and they are nonstop. I can tell you that. So.
That's right. Well, let's dive right into our episodes that we've done together, because that'll set the stage and the tone for what I want to talk about the rest of the radio show. Season 1, dude, like back when you had the sea hunt.
Yes.
Bro. So
the 24 sea hunt. We did a lot on that.
We crushed it, bro. So we set up this opportunity to go film season 1. He said, Jonathan, have you ever done vertical jigging for Amberjack? I said, no, but I want to. And you're like, it's amazing. So I was like, well, what size, how heavy of vertical jigs do we need? I want to say we had 9-ounce jigs that day. And
yeah,
they were big. And
yeah,
I
a little bigger, I think.
I went to a offshore shop, a local shop there in Cocoa Beach, and they had them on clearance. I was like, heck yeah, because they're not cheap, because they're a lot of lead, and they're just all these different colors, and they've got the wire coming off with the hooks, and like they're involved. And we went offshore like 20, 25 miles. And it was a nice little run in that 24 boat. And we're bottom fishing for bait. And we're using like our inshore rods for redfish. And what are we catching? We're catching like grunt after grunt after grunt. And I can see it in your face. Like you're lighting up like, bro, we're going to catch some fish with these things. And in my mind, I'm going, bro, these are fun. Like I'm happy with this. Let's just do this for a while. You're like, no. This is not the plan. So we loaded up with those things. And if I'm not mistaken, we had a bunch of leftover grunts, and you wanted to throw them back. Do you remember this?
I do. I do. I remember that.
And you're like, no, dude, we don't keep this. I'm like, no. I'm half Cuban. We keep this, and we're gonna eat them, and we're gonna fillet them, and you're gonna see. You're like, bro, these are so small. I'm like, no, they're the same. They're a regular grunt. They're a good grunt. This is a perfect taco fish, and I filleted them, and you had them for tacos, and you were like, bro, I'm never throwing a grunt back again. You understood why the grouper liked to eat them, right?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And then I think we caught a couple of those. We call them Key West grunts, and those are a little
Yeah.
bit bigger. They're really good. They're actually pretty good to eat for
I
tacos.
told you, you were like, bro, this guy's crazy. But we got our grunts, we got our live bait, and then we ran. I want to say, would we go 50 miles off that day?
It's about 44, 45 miles.
It
Yep.
was a run. It was a run. And we start jigging. Now, what for me and the offshore thing, okay, when I'm inshore, I'm looking for it's easy to find structure, right? It's easy to find points. It's easy to find mangroves. But offshore, I mean, you said 45 miles out. Yeah, you can look at numbers, you can look at wrecks, you can look at things that have happened like natural wrecks or broken bottom, but you have to find that stuff. How did you find this spot? Like what led you there to know where these amberjack are going to be sitting there?
So a lot of times these fish move around from wrecks to ledges or whatever. A lot of it's just from trolling. I find a lot of bottom spots trolling. That's why you always have to have good electronics. Um, some of the other spots are just well known, and you just have to know from the time of year where they move to. So like that time of year, I believe we did that in what, June? So a
Yeah,
lot of those
yeah.
amberjacks, they get into those big wrecks, and they do move depending on the thermocline. So sometimes you got to go out into that 250 stuff, and then they're on big rocks out there.
Mhm.
But that I think that day we were on a big wreck, and it's about 150, 170 there. So and some days they just won't eat, or you have a problem with the sharks. But that day it seemed like we'd had no sharks, and it
No,
just worked out great for us. They were piled in there, so I think we got bit
man.
almost every drop.
And I tell you, it when you go offshore, you don't even want to mention wind. You don't want to mention sharks because if you can have a day like we had, where we had calm conditions, for us to be able to run 45 miles out in a 24-foot bay boat without any issue, and we were running wide open. It's not like we had to go slow and deal with waves. Like we got to get there, and we got there quick because we were able to run at a decent pace. And then there was no one there, which was awesome. There was no boats around, and then we didn't have to deal with the tax man, the sharks. And you're right, it was like every drop. And that's one of the things I love about bottom fishing is when you're on that structure and those fish are holding up, you drop a bait down, you catch them, and that's how it was catching bait. But with these guys, you would drop that vertical jig down, and a lot of times they'd hit it on the way down. Like you didn't have to jig it because they were like in the middle. We could see them rising up in the water column, chasing the lure, and then hanging out there waiting for the next drop. But if you've never done vertical jigging, literally you open your bail. We're using a big 8,000 series Resolute Florida Fishing Products. I'm having a brain fart for a second. The big Florida Fishing Products Resolute 8,000 reels. At the time, it was their saltwater series, but they've gone away from the saltwater series. They improved the reel and came out with the Resolutes, which are incredible reels. But you're dropping them all the way down on a big, heavy spinning rod on the TFO Sea Hunter series, and you're literally ripping that rod up and reeling at the same time. And then when that fish hits it, like it's a freight train, like it stops you. Like, and those drags were tight, and you're whoa, it's unbelievable, dude. It's strong, powerful. They're called reef donkeys for a reason, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, when I'm on a charter, I don't. people will get tired, and I'm like, I'm not going to drop one down because I don't want to be tired like you are. I'm like, you guys can have the fun. I've caught too many of them things.
I
So,
love it, man. Well, we got to hook into a ton of fish there. And I was ecstatic. Like even the camera guys got to put down the cameras and catch some fish. They got to catch their first amberjacks. The power that those fish have is just unbelievable. And we're in, like you said, we're in 150, 175 feet of water. When they feel that tension, that hook, they're going down. They want to
oh
get
yeah,
you back in those rocks. They want to get you where they feel safe and comfortable, where they have an opportunity to break you off. And if I remember correctly, here's what I love about you, dude. Like, you're a fisherman, you're passionate about it, but you're also competitive. And I remember I was catching a few, and you're like, what in the world? Like, what am I doing wrong? And then finally you hooked up, and we were doubling up, and we're just like going at each other, laughing. There's one picture, I was looking through the pictures earlier today, and there's one picture after a fish that I caught, and we'll talk about later. I'm just like pointing at you, like, that was awesome. And it's just those are the stories, man. Those are the reasons that we get together and go fishing. That's the reason all of us go fishing, so we can create these stories. From there, we made a move, and you had a plan for the grunts. I didn't really want to leave the amberjack, but we had other things. And one thing I love about filming a fishing show with fishy dudes, especially like with you, is variety. We have an opportunity to go do something different, to go chase another species. We've got about 30 seconds, but I'm going to start this next segment with where we went to next. We made a run. Do you remember about how far we run? It feels like 5 or 6 miles to the next spot.
that run is about 7 miles from where we were because I remember exactly where you caught that big fish.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about two fish in particular. You caught one and I caught one. So don't go anywhere. I've got Captain Matt Graves with me from Limitless Fishing Charters out of Ponce Inlet. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. This is the Captain's Log Radio right here on the Outdoor Radio Network.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. Thanks for listening to On the Hook with Captain Bob. And I love that you guys are sticking around to listen to the Captain's Log Radio right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. Before we continue, guys, I want you to head over to Facebook. I want you to head over to Instagram. I want you to go to YouTube and follow at the Captain's Log TV. Make sure you're there. Make sure you're following along on all the adventures. And when you're posting, tag me. I love seeing what you're catching. I want to see we're coming up on hunting season. October is right around the corner and deer season's coming up. I want to see what you're doing. I want to hear about your adventures in the woods. You sitting in the deer stands. You know, it's amazing the things that come alive, the things that you experience when you are outdoors. So I want to know about it. So make sure you're tagging me, send me DMs. Let's connect on all the socials at the Captain's Log TV. Matt, do you have some social medias you can share with us, buddy? How can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I got my Instagram, which is limitless underscore fishing underscore charters. That's my Instagram. I don't really do too much Facebook. I should probably get back into that. But my kids are very big into YouTube. So we did start a YouTube channel for them. Kind of came off of, I did an Instagram reel of them fishing and that kind of went viral. But they've always been big into YouTube, all the big Deer Meat for Dinner, Blue Gabe, all those guys. So they're like, well, I want to start my own channel. So we kind of started that. It's called Doubled Up Outdoors. So if you go follow us and subscribe, and hopefully we can get some more good content going with them.
Awesome.
So they're excited about it.
Yeah, Matt has a great group of anglers. His boys are young. They're what 6 and 4.
Yeah, their birthdays are this month, so they're going to be 5 and 7. So
Awesome. Awesome. So
yeah,
you're just ahead of us where my kids are 5 and 3 and yours are 5 and 7. Love
yep,
it, man. Well, cool. Yeah, go give them a subscribe on YouTube and see all the cool stuff they're doing. I love seeing kids out in the outdoors, and we'll talk about that. We'll bring that up because we're both having to. I don't want to say having to, but we both have the privilege of bringing up our children in the outdoors. We're both passionate about the outdoors. We both grew up going fishing. Your brother is big into fishing. This is your family's what they've done. This is your traditions. And now we get to do that same thing with our kids and pass the buck or hand off the torch. And it's our jobs now to be the educators, our job now to be the mentor. And it can be frustrating because they're wild little boys and they want to play and they want to touch everything and they're just can't sit still. And you're trying to catch fish and you're on a flat that's 12 inches of water and they're like running around like, bro, stop. There's like tailing fish right there. Like, chill out.
yeah,
But then you have the moments where they see those fish and then it clicks and they make that presentation. For you guys, you're catching your fish off your seawall and they're blowing up a plug and then they're catching snook and flounder and jacks and just and they pull the fish off up over to the wall and they're like, whoa, this kid is like tiny, but he's got this giant fish. Like, what the crap, man? How did you do that? It's amazing to watch.
yeah. It really is. I think my first son started fishing at 2.5, and then I think he was using the spinning reel by 3 or 4. Uh, and then I'd be get home from a charter, wiped out at 5 o'clock. They're like, "Hey, can we go to the seawall?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess so." But it's tiring, but it's awesome to see. So
Yeah,
it's great bringing them up.
absolutely.
Like I wish I grew up like that when I was young. So it's a good feeling for sure.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. There's days where I'm envious of that seawall because I mean it's
it is
across the street. You want to go fishing, it's just you just
walk
50
down the
feet.
canal.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you're right there. Yep. So that's
yeah,
awesome. All right, let's bring it back. We were talking about our episode right before the break. We made a move. We're talking about making this move. We had done the bottom fishing, vertical jigging for the amberjack, which let me say, amberjack is delicious. It's delicious. And I've seen some fishing shows, and there was one where I've become friends with this fishing show host now. And I saw an episode he did where they were catching amberjack and they threw them all back. And the guy he was fishing with was like, bro, these fish are terrible. They don't eat good. I'm like, what are you talking about? They are, I think, absolutely delicious. And I smoked some and made fish dip with them. I grilled some and had them with some veggies. It was fantastic. We cut some into fingers and made fried them, made fish sticks with them. They're good. They're good eat.
yeah,
But we left those. Oh, go ahead. You're gonna say, what do you think
yeah.
about them?
No, I mean, I people don't they throw them back all the time, but I use them for, like you said, fish dip all the time. And when you smoke them, you cook them the right way. I think they're great. So uh, if you are throwing them back, try them for fish dip. I can tell you that they make a great
Yeah.
fish dip.
Oh, and my problem with fish dip, because let me tell you, buddy, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I can make some fish dip, bro. And my problem with it is I'll eat it till I'm sick. I absolutely love smoked fish dip.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. You put dip in front of me in a football game, I'm gonna eat probably half of that.
Yes, sir.
I'll be
Yes,
full. I can't
sir.
even eat the main course.
There's been times where I've been going offshore fishing and have a smoked fish dip sandwich for breakfast. And the guys in the boat are like, what are you eating? I'm like, bro, I'm just getting my body ready for what we're going to catch and what we're going to eat later. All right.
There you
So
go.
we had moved from the amberjack and we had pulled out these grunts, these live baits. And we've got big setups, big rods, big reels, 65-pound braid. I don't remember what we did for a leader. I want probably
It's probably
50.
we probably started off with 80 fluoro, just to
Okay.
make sure we're getting the bites. And then usually if I get broke off a couple times, I'll move up to 100
Which
fluoro.
is 100-pound leader, you guys. That's insane. What's
Yeah.
with a leader size that big? What is your best way to connect? For inshore stuff, I'm doing uni to uni or an FG knot. Those are small, easy lines to connect two different lines together. But something that big, what's your go-to? How do you prefer to
I
connect?
usually I'll tie a bimini twist, and then I'll do like an Alberto knot or something to connect that. So that's how I usually connect those. I call it like a stretch to my main braid. I
Huh.
put about 25-yard stretch on it of like a regular 100 mono,
Huh.
and then from there you'll do like a three-way swivel, something like that. So that's pretty much the setup. It's pretty simple for bottom fishing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And with the three-way swivel, are you doing like from there, leader to a hook, leader to a hook, and then leader to a weight?
So yeah, usually I'll use like probably 60 mono, and it'll be just like a drop sinker, like an egg sinker.
Okay.
Not an egg sinker, but a teardrop sinker. Usually anywhere from 16 ounces uh, to hold on the bottom there, and then my other side I'll do for the amberjacks. You want a lot longer leader. You want that grunt or croaker to get up there and have they kind of swim up a little bit. But other than that, and then you just put a big old 8-0 circle, offset circle hook,
Hmm.
and you want those 3X strong ones because those big fish can bend and snap them hooks. So
That's wild. Do you ever use a knocker rig?
I don't usually use a knocker rig around here. Maybe more in the shallow stuff if I'm fishing, lane snapper, mangrove snapper, stuff like that, in that 100 to or less. But when I'm in that deep stuff, I use that three-way
Okay.
swivel.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, we had an opportunity to uh, throw down some live baits for some red snapper and grouper. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say we moved from one spot to another from red snapper to the grouper. But you hooked into a red snapper that was just ginormous. One of the biggest red snapper I have ever seen in my entire life. And what kills me is we have here on the East Coast, we have such a poor season for. I'm trying to be nice here. We've got, what is it, a 2-day season now? Like 48 hours, like a Friday night to Sunday, something kind of deal.
yeah, it's a 2 day. This year was 2 days. It was Friday, Saturday, and it's one fish per person. The Gulf, I think they had what, 130 something days this year.
Yeah, like they have a lot of days this year. It's like it's still going on. Like it's every
Yeah,
weekend for the next, till Christmas. And I part of that, last season, season 6, we did an episode with Captain Chris Schultz up in Jacksonville where we were catching them on fly on the surface. Like these fish are plentiful. And I've got some friends that sit in with Noah and are on the board with the fisheries management, and they're trying to change this for us anglers because we are catching red snapper now in places that you normally used to not catch red snapper. They're getting in pretty close, and the mortality of these fish is that they're getting killed because you're releasing so many of them by the sharks. So you catch a nice fish, you release it. A lot of times it's getting eaten anyways, but by a shark. So it's a very weird situation. They are working on that. Hopefully soon we'll have more of a season. But you caught a massive, massive red snapper, and then I hooked into a fish, and I felt this fish eat. And you're when you're around the rocks, you want those fish to swim out, and you've got to get that fish to swim out. And if I'm not mistaken, that fish went into the rocks and I gave him a second. Like I let him hang on for a minute. and I got rid of tension. And then that fish swam out. Like he felt good. And once he swam out and I could feel the line kind of moving some, came back tight and just laid the hammer on him. Had to. Because once you're in the rocks and if they don't come out of those rocks, you're done. It's over. And that's the same. You're doing the inshore grouper in Tampa Bay or in Crystal River. When those fish get in that structure, dude, it's over. It is over. But that fish came out and it was one of the hardest bottom fish fights I've ever had. We are coming up on a break. We'll get back to it. Don't go anywhere. When we start talking fishing, we lose track of time so fast. Captain Jonathan Moss will be right back right here on the Captain's Log Radio.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio. That timer about got me on that last segment. But let's just continue on real quick. We had this big grouper on, and dude, honestly, it was the biggest grouper I've ever caught. The biggest black grouper. It was a black grouper, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a minute that I've thought about it.
Yeah, so it's a gag, but when they get that big, we call them black bellies.
Black bellies. That's what I'm thinking.
Yep, their bellies get black. So,
and if you look at gag grouper and black grouper, the way you can tell them apart is their patterns of their markings. But this grouper was stupid. Like I remember looking at you going, bro, look, I know I'm strong, but this fish is heavy. Like trying to pick it up and hold him, and he's slimy. That thing was, what I need to do is call my friends over at New Wave Taxidermy and have them make me a grouper for my wall because that thing was just absolutely incredibly beautiful.
We got some great pictures of that fish. You probably get a nice one made.
Absolutely. But we got that fish to the boat, and I think that's where I was pointing at you, the picture that they took, because the moment there was like, bro, not only did we catch a giant fish, but we did it on a spinning reel, which is typically unheard of. In fact, we filmed an episode in Alabama a couple years later, and I remember the mate was looking at me. He was like an 18-year-old kid. And if he's listening to this, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit. I'm sorry. But he's looking at me like, you can't catch these fish with the spinning reel. I'm like, oh, yes, you can. It's like, no. That's impossible. Can't do it. I'm like, on the contrary, my friend, you totally can. And if I'm not mistaken, you looked at me and were like, okay, can you get me the number to Florida Fishing Products? I'm going to order some of these reels right now.
Absolutely. I use those reels for groupers, snappers, AJs. I mean, when they have 49 pounds of drag, if you look at some of the pin senators and all that, it's more than that. Yeah. I mean, so I love those reels. I don't know how many 8,000s that I use, and I don't even use those pin senators anymore because I just rather use that spinning rod. I feel more comfortable with them.
Listen, and for us as guys who are as guides, right, charter captains, we are on the water a lot. Our clients typically don't have the same experience or time on the water. So if you are using one of those big pen senators, they're not a level line reel. You have to control that line coming back onto the reel, right? And if you don't, you're going to bunch up line on one side of the reel, and you could be at a point where it's all one side and you still have line left and you can't add any more line to the reel. And if you start pushing it over, now it's not level and it's going to make a mess later on. Having a spinning reel, you don't have to think about that. You can just turn the handle and the bail is going to spin and it's going to lay that line on the reel correctly. And then having that kind of drag, what I love about one thing I try to promote and tell people, listen, number one, buy the best you can afford. Okay. And then number two, think about the different fishing scenarios that you want to do. You can take that same 8,000 reel and go catch those big red snapper, big grouper, big AJs. And you can take that same reel, put it on a different rod, and pitch a live bait at a big tarpon. Or you can go throw a live bait at the jetty rocks and catch a big snook. Or you can go sight fish and throw jigs at cobia on manta rays, right? So now you've
Is it,
got
yeah.
one reel that can do so many different situations, so many different fishing scenarios,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if you had that big level line or a big Penn Senator, you're not, unless you're fishing in Boca Grande, you're dropping a bait to the bottom, you're not going to be throwing that at snook. You're not going to be throwing that at cobia. You're not going to be throwing that at tarpon, right?
Yeah, it's very versatile. And what I've noticed is when I used to have a lot of those pin senators, people get it in their hands and it's all over the place. They can't. It just seems awkward to them, and it seems like everybody would be like, "Oh, I'd rather use a spinning reel." So that's when I'm like, "All right, I'm just gonna have a bunch of those 8,000s, and you can change the handle whichever way. So
Yep.
you put a rod butt on the end or those little cushions, and they just seem to you catch more fish because they're not all over the place, and usually they can maybe get them past the sharks a little better too. So that's what I've noticed with going to the spinning reels and having a reel that has that much drag on it. And
Yeah.
paired with the TFOs, that TFO, the heavy rod, I
The
mean,
Sea Hunter
that rod is a
series.
beast. Yes, the Sea Hunter series. I mean, those are great rods as well to pair with those 8,000s.
Yeah, and we were using those that day. They have different weights for those rods. So you can get a real heavy one, you get one with a lighter tip. I mean, depending on the situation, they've got a ton of backbone, but they have some that have a little faster action tip where you can really feel that sensitive bite if you're fishing for those grunts. For the grunts, we were using those tactical inshore rods, real, I mean, redfish rods, and you see, even those little grunts will put up a fight. And that, if you've got kids, we were talking about fishing with our kids. If you got a group of kids that want to have some fun, I mean, that is an absolute blast. And that's a fish that you can now teach your kids how to fish, make it easy for them. Then you can bring some home because you're not going to touch the population of them. There's bajillion of them. You can flay
Yeah,
them. They're good table fare. You can teach your kids how to flay them. There's so many options on the offshore side doing the bottom fishing stuff, which that's one of my favorite parts about the offshore side is you can bring home some really good fish to provide for your family.
absolutely. And like you said, with those 8,000s, you could pair those with the lighter TFO rods, and you could have pitch rods for cobias or
Yep.
mahis. So like a lot of the times, you need still a little bit, a stiffer rod for that. But I use you got to have a couple pitch rods ready to go, a cobia rod ready to go. You never know what's going to come up to you. So that's why I love those 8,000s too instead of a
Yeah.
pin senator. So
And TFO is making those the inshore rods. They're coming out with a brand new rod. I was blessed to be able to be a part of the design with that rod and create the content for the promotion of this new rod, the Intracoastal series. It's in America now, and they're doing all of their dealer push. So they're organizing all of the rods and then sending them out to the dealers. So here in the next couple of days, they're going to be available. Um, but they have rods from a 6'6" medium light all the way to an 8 foot extra heavy. So you can take that same 8,000 reel, put it on one of those extra heavy rods, or a 7 foot heavy, or a 7'6" heavy, and use that for so many different situations. They even have an 8 foot heavy, not the extra heavy. So many different fishing scenarios. Point being, you can grab one reel and two rods and do a lot on the offshore, nearshore side. And I'm
absolutely.
all about that. Like again, I
Yep.
like I like buying the best that I can afford. My dad says, buy once, cry once. You hear that all the time. Take care of your tools, they'll take care of you. You can spend a little bit of money up front and not worry about your gear for years to come with a little bit of preventive maintenance and taking care of your stuff. So that's where I'm at with that. Let's transition some. You now are doing you're running charters out of a 42 Freeman,
34 Freeman. Yep.
34
We
Freeman.
just, yeah, we had the yellowfin, and we just now went to the 34 Freeman. So we'll be running all of our offshore trips out of that. So we're excited about that.
What kind of trips are you doing? Are you mainly doing bottom? Are you doing the tuna stuff with that? What all are you doing?
So we're going to be pretty much offering everything. We'll definitely be doing a lot of tuna fishing next year, starting probably March is usually when we start tuna fishing again. But I do enjoy doing a lot of trolling. So we do mahi trips, you know, sailfish, everything like that, to the bottom fishing as well. The winter time or the fall time coming up, we should get a good mahi push. Again, I would say probably in the next month or two, we should get the mahi bite should pick up. But we're going to do a little bit of everything. I think we're going to start offering some towel fish trips during that season as well. So, I mean, that boat gives us every opportunity we need to do whatever we want. So,
How
we're
deep
going to
water
offer
are you
everything.
finding these tiles?
It's going to be about 500 to 700 feet.
Are you using
So, we'll be
electric reels for
using,
those?
well, yeah, we have electric reels for those. Some people like to hand crank them. So, we're just going to kind of whatever they want, we'll have it on the boat. So,
That's a lot of line to bring back at 700 feet.
I'll be the first one to go to the electric reel as long as they're on the boat.
Yes, you flip the little switch, hit the buttons. That's a whole lot easier, buddy. Let me tell you.
Another
Are you
thing we'll be
catching
doing too is high speeding too. So
mm,
we'll be high speeding for wahoos.
like Wahoo
Uh,
and Kings?
yep, more the wahoos. We kind of head up north a little bit, and there's a lot of good ground up there. So
Mm.
that season's coming up as well. So we'll be offering
I
that.
I've only caught one Wahoo. And we caught it a weehoo because it was tiny, but the colors and the stripes were unbelievable. Those fish are so beautiful. And I hear they're absolutely incredible table fare. I've never eaten one.
Oh, they're amazing. I eat them raw. So
Yeah, that's what I hear you're
sashimi.
supposed to do.
Yeah. So they're really good. So I'm
Now,
looking forward to that.
when you're finding your mahi, are you trolling grass lines? Do you have a specific speed that you like to troll for those grass lines for those mahi?
Yeah, so I always tell everybody, don't stop until you find something. So you're going to find a weed line or rip or color change, water temp change. Some people will just go on, TV and they'll see, oh, they've been in 150 foot. And they'll just, once they hit 150 foot, they'll just start trolling in the middle of nowhere. But you really want to try to find something that's, keeping fish around, bait. Usually if you find a big rip with the weed line on it, you're going to have bait there. If there's no bait there, you can troll it for an hour and you're not going to catch one. So you might need to go a little deeper. There might be another rip out there, and that's where the bait is. It has to do, a lot of it's water temperature change.
All right, Matt, let me interrupt you really quick. We are quickly coming up on that next break. When we get back, we'll dive deeper into how you're finding those mahi and what you're doing once you get your first one. Don't go anywhere. This is Captain Jonathan Moss right here on the Outdoor Radio Network.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. Got Captain Matt Graves with me today from Limitless Fishing Charters there in Ponce Inlet, the Daytona Beach area there on the east central coast of Florida. Matt, we got interrupted by that stupid timer once again, talking about offshore trolling. In my experience with mahi, once you catch your first one, you put that fish, you get that fish to the boat, you leave him in the rod holder, let him go crazy. He's going bananas around the boat, and now you're throwing out live baits all around the boat, and that school will come to you. Is that typically what you're doing on your charters?
So
Your mahi
yeah,
fishing?
Yeah, so usually when we start mahi fishing, we're looking for that edge or a weed line or color change, water temp change. But, once you do catch one, a lot of times, sometimes we'll get three or four in one, pass by on a troll. And then usually if you catch that many, you can kind of look back behind them. You'll see them following them. So you always want to keep one in the water. And I usually always have old ballyhoo that I cut up or some type of cut bait that I have. Throw those out, and then that'll keep them around as well. Um, Usually live baits, we like down south, I know they get all those white baits. We don't really
Yeah.
have that kind of
Yeah.
stuff here other than maybe pogies or something like that. But what we use is either jigs, we call them flash minnows. Like we said, always have those on a separate rod or uh, pitch rods. So a lot of it's dead bait, or you could just throw out and if they're bigger fish, skip a ballyhoo across the water as well. So you got to make sure you're prepared and to keep them around the boat. That's for sure, because you might get a couple hundred fish up to the boat, and if you're not prepared, they'll leave pretty quick if you don't have nothing to keep them around the boat. So that's how you
What
put
are
numbers in the boat as well.
what are you trolling to start that initial bite?
So I always prepare my baits the night before. I'll rig up at least 40 ballyhoos and have at least 20 to 30 rigged. So some I probably have a half naked ballyhoos, which is on a dink rig. We call them dink rigs. Um, so we'll troll until we start catching fish, and then a lot of times we will get schools follow up to the boat once you get you say you hang three or four mahi at a time. You usually are going to have more than that with them. So always be prepared to have some chunk bait and stuff like that ready to go.
What size rod and reel and line?
So we run. I have pin TLD 25s, and then I always have a 50 wide up top for the shotgun. You could use a 30 wide or something like that as well. Uh, and then we usually do run a plug or a deep bait as well for that wahoo bite.
Like a cedar plug?
No, I use the big lip plugs from Nomad,
Okay.
or a big Islander. You run a big Islander deep on some wire for that wahoo bite.
Mm. Mm.
So,
And then if we're going back to the mahi, is there a particular size line you're putting on those TLDs?
yeah, so
Are you running
usually,
mono? Like a
yeah,
high?
so I'll do a mono, probably about 30 pound, 30. Some people do 40. I like 30, lighter drag more for the mahi bite. And then I'll do a top shot of 60 fluoro, about 25 yards of 60 fluoro, and then a ball bearing swivel so you can tie on the dink rigs real fast. And usually have 30 or 40 already rigged. So you could cut that one off, tie a new one on, pitch it back out, and you don't even have to stop sometimes.
Are
So,
you doing that so you can just flip the fish into the box, cut the line, and go? And not
yep,
worry about
yep. And then
unhooking
you
it?
tie a new one on, and then say you have that one bites the long outrigger, you'll bring that one in, switch the short outrigger to the long rigger, and then that one that you just tied on, you flip out to the short rigger, and it's kind of seamless. You want to keep going. That way you're not stopping fishing, waiting. That's how you put the fish in the boat or get the numbers that you want. So.
For your mono, are you doing clear? Are you doing high vis? Is color matter?
A lot of people like the high vis so they can see. Once you get the hang of it, I like the clear. Because if you set them out and you stagger them the right way, you shouldn't get tangled. You're not doing sharp turns in the boat. I like the clear, but there's nothing wrong with the high vis, especially when you have that top shot on it of the fluoro. So that high vis shouldn't be dragging in the water anyways. So that's kind of the setup I run.
I like that you got the artificial on standby. When I've done the mahi fishing in the South, in South Florida, we always have those white baits. And when they get close to the boat, we're putting the boat in neutral. We're leaving the motors running. We got that first fish in the rod holder. We pepper out those white baits. And next thing you know, I mean, it's chaos. There's fish just all behind the boat. And one time I was fishing with Captain, I've done it twice with Captain Chris Lemieux, where we've got 9 rods on the boat, and every rod had a fish. Like you'd hook one, you throw it in the rod holder, you grab another one, you hook down one, you throw in the rod holder, you grab another one. I mean, it was boom, 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 boom. And then we just started reeling them in, flipping them into the boat, unhooking them, put a new bait, throw it out, and as soon as it hits the water, it's hooked up, and like it's chaos. I mean, it's crazy. And those fish, mahi are one of the fastest growing fish in the ocean. They populate they reproduce very quickly at a young age. They're sexually mature, and I mean, they're just plentiful and they're beautiful. Now, I'm not saying keep all the peanuts, keep the shorts. Like I like to catch up at it. If I'm gonna keep all these fish, I'm gonna clean this, kill ones and eat ones, harvest ones that have meat on them. But they are just they're like rabbits. They're like rabbits in the ocean, man. They reproduce like crazy. And they're beautiful. I think mahi are some of the most beautiful fish that swim, and then they change colors. They get lit up when they're feeding, and those greens and yellows and blues start popping, and then you get them in the boat and you throw them in the box, and sometimes they'll turn silver. Sometimes they turn completely different color. They're unbelievable fish. My wife's never caught one, and that's
well, we need to change that then. She needs to come out with us.
That's on her bucket list. She wants to catch a mahi so bad. I think mahi's delicious. It's one of the best
amazing.
eating fish. Bro, I was in Isla Morada with a buddy. We were fishing out of my Ginu. This is how old this story is. We were down there in my Ginu, and we were catching a bunch of mangroves and lobster. And it was lobster season. We had he was a firefighter. So he got off shift and we drove down to Isla Mirada. As soon as we got there, we got on the water, we got our limit of lobster and our limit of snapper. And we came back to the dock and we were cleaning our fish and our lobster. And this dude, this charter captain was there, and he had, I don't know, 50 mahi. He had a bunch. And he's flaying them and flaying them. We're cleaning our fish. He got about halfway through and he looked at us. He goes, "Guys, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm hot. Do you want the rest of these fish? Because my clients aren't going to have a clue if I give them fillets and be like, here's all your fillets." They're not going to know. And I looked at him. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take those mahi from you."
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good day right there.
So like, we got snapper, we got mahi, we got lobster, and we did in a Ginu. Like, heck yeah, bro. Like it was nuts. So anyways, we went out the next morning, and again, we got our limit of lobster and we got our limit of snapper, and then we headed straight home to Orlando because he had to go to shift that night. So, or the next morning, so it was like, bro, we were down for 24 hours and we got 2 limits. But mahi are they're a fun, beautiful, delicious, plentiful fish.
I think it's some of the best fishing. I mean, the when they hit those outriggers and it pops, and say you get 3 or 4 on, you get a 30, 40 pounder. I mean, some of the funnest fishing for me, other than like tuna fishing is one of my favorites as well. But I mean, you can't get sick of it. I'd do it every day if I could.
Yeah.
So
I've never caught one of those big bulls. I've never caught a 30 pounder. I've never seen one or held one that big fishing offshore.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of fun. And like you said, when those big ones get lit up, it's some of the coolest looking fish there is, in my opinion. I love them. So it's one of my favorite things to do.
Do you ever take your ballyhoo and you put any kind of skirts on them or any kind of offshore jigs on them attached to them?
I do. When I do mate on bigger boats, and a lot of that we use just straight naked baits, which is just no skirts on them. But when I'm on this, I say smaller boats, like our 34-foot boats, we'll put a lot of chuggers and stuff in front of them just to add to you can't run as many lines. So we'll probably run half and half, and then a lot of teasers. If you can run 2 teasers off the back, that really will get the sailfish in and everything like that more attracted to your baits. So, and then running a deep plug, if there's a fish down deep, that'll bring them up too. It'll kind of act like a teaser for you.
Do you think those wahoo are going deep and following the mahi to eat a mahi, or you think they're curious that the mahi are up high doing something crazy and chasing?
So wahoo are very structure oriented. So, they kind of hang around the ledges and or something's floating underneath, they'll be way down deep. So they're just, preying on fish, bait fish, they like the bigger baits, those blue runners and bonitas. So anywhere you think those fish are holding, those are where your wahoo is going to be. But feeding on the mahis, more toward the like bonitas and blue runners, stuff like that. So they're kind of more structure oriented.
Gotcha. Well, Matt, listen, we need to go fishing soon, buddy. I'll trade you trips. Let's go out on the skiff. Play around on
Absolutely.
the kaya, and then we can go offshore, bring some meat home with the family, get the kids together. We need to do that. If people want to book you, we got 30 seconds. If people want to book you, how do they get a hold of you?
So you could give me a call, 407-222-4408, or my website is limitlessfishing.com.
Awesome.
So
Limitlessfishing.com. We've done 2 episodes together. We didn't talk about the second one where we were flounder fishing. I'll probably use a flounder picture because we got some good pictures of the two of us holding flounder and smiling and looking like we're happy and friends. But we've got a couple episodes together. Check those out on the website and YouTube and all the places. Guys, thank you so much for being here for the Captain's Log Radio right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. We will talk to you guys next week. Remember, you can stream this after the live show, so if you miss it, head on over to Spotify, iHeart, or YouTube. Talk soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.